Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I have with me a new guest. This is Phyllis Fempong, and she is here to share with us something super duper amazing. We're talking about healing fibroids naturally today. And Phyllis is actually an RN, so I'm really, really excited to have her with us today. Now, Phyllis, can you please just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then, we'll start our interview and have our conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sierra, for having me. And hello to you all. My name is, again, Phyllis Fempong, aka the Fibroid Queen, and I am a nurse, fitness and yoga coach of women and their suffering with uterine fibroids, as I have through a holistic and fitness regimen through the Fibroid Fitness Challenges. And yeah, so so through this, I've been able to go from pain and suffering with uterine fibroids to just living beyond the life that I never imagined. And that is all through natural healing. So just a statistic I want to share. And you may be like, you know what, how does this affect me? Well, up to 80% of women will get fibroids. And 60 to 70% of that is melanated women. So this is a huge concern, and you may be suffering, your sister, your mother, your friend, and they may not even know, right? So the 4 triggers of uterine fibroids is bloating, anemia, heavy cycles, and pain. And if you are dealing with any of those triggers, that is not normal. And you may be like, what is uterine fibroids? And uterine fibroids are non-cancerous tumors that lie in or and around the uterus that may cause those 4 triggers. And that's what I was experiencing 12 years ago when I was diagnosed. I remember growing up and as a child watching my mom suffer with uterine fibroids to the point where she ended up getting a partial hysterectomy, and I saw her come home from just after the surgery and just wondered and asked her, what happened to her? Why does she look so much in pain and uncomfortable? And for those of you that may relate, sometimes culturally we don't talk about those things. So she kind of brushed me off, and I just kept persisting. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, well, the doctor said I needed to get these fibroids taken out. And I went even further and asked her, what are fibroids? She had no idea. She just did whatever the doctor told her. So that experience stuck with me. And when I got into nursing school, I don't know, something told me. I don't know if it was my intuition. It was a combination of learning a little bit more in nursing school, putting things together with my mom's experience, that I just asked for an ultrasound. I went for a womb wellness checkup and I asked for an ultrasound. Didn't know where fibroids were exactly. I just thought I'd just do that. And it ended up showing that I had a quarter size fibroid on my uterus. So the women that are listening to this right now, follow your intuition. You know your body better than anyone, any doctor, anyone. So I end up having a quarter size fibroid, and I was told by the doctor to just monitor it. Looking back, I felt like that is the worst thing the doctor could have told me. And I don't blame it on the doctor, because half of them don't even know, are not even aware of different things that we can do to possibly prevent fibroids. So that's what I did. I just monitored it and went on with life and graduated nursing school, 30 pounds heavier because of all the stress and anxiety. I just was not ready for nursing school, but I passed. Right? So I went to the doctor again and just for just a regular checkup, and I was told that I had high cholesterol in my 20s. So that kind of blew me, because now that I was a nurse and dealing with sick patients all the time, I was like, I do not want to be one of these patients. So I immediately joined a gym in order to correct my cholesterol level without having to resort to medications or anything like that. So joined a gym, and I came across a bodybuilding coach. So long story short, she saw something in me that I didn't see, but she was like, you know what, you should compete on stage. Like, she didn't know who I was or anything. So I'm like, you got to be kidding, right? Me, half naked on stage, yeah, right. So one thing I knew about myself is that I am driven. Whenever I put my mind to something, I'm just, ready to go gun ho. And I gave it a night to think about it. And I was like, why not? I need this guidance. I need to lose this weight. My cholesterol's high. So I joined her program. So ladies, getting the guidance from a coach, someone you can trust, is highly important. That way you can surround yourself around like-minded people. And that's what I wanted to do, to be able to thrive and grow in my fitness journey. So I ended up dropping 30 pounds, toned up, sculpted, and I won my first bikini show. And that was an
Wow.
amazing experience, being the only melanated one up there. So it was definitely something that I was like, you know what, I have more ammo to do more. So I kept competing for about 3-4 years. And then I decided to become a personal trainer along the way to help others reach their goals. And after competing 7-8 years, that world became toxic, because you are literally judged on stage by how you look. So it can be very subjective. And, Sierra, I would have them tell me, oh, your butt's too big, or, oh, no, you got to lose a little bit more weight. Oh, it's this, it's that. So I literally took that to the head, and I started working out 2-3 times a day in order to get better based on their subjective opinions. And to the point I was making myself sick, and having a lot of self-doubt, self-sabotaging. And then after a while, I'm like, you know what? I can't keep doing this. I cannot keep being succumbing to all of this negativity in this world. So I stopped competing. And one thing I want to mention, Sierra, is as women, we hold a lot of emotional energy inside. And it's all in our womb. That's where it goes down there. And if we don't have a way of letting it out, over time, it can cause dis-ease in that area. So we're very vulnerable to that. So I feel like competing and training, overtraining, really played a role in the fibroid development, where I noticed sometimes that I wouldn't even have a cycle when I was competing because I was training so hard, right? And it affected the way that my cycle was running. And then also, I know as a child, I may have been dealing with some things that have not been resolved emotionally. So I stopped competing, and then I got into a relationship. I thought that relationship can help me overcome what I was lacking as a person. So that was toxic. That gentleman I was dating at the time lived in another state, so it was just the stress of finding time together, and I just was not getting what I thought I needed out of that relationship. So that caused a lot more emotional burden. And then one thing is, I thank him to this day because he inspired me to focus on myself and try yoga, when I get back, because I was visiting him at the time, and We were just talking, and he said, you know what, when you get back to Houston, where I live, you should start looking into something to help you relax because you've been tense this whole trip, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
like and Sierra, I don't know if you can relate. It's like when you live the go, go, go life, you don't have time to process your thoughts or just
Mm-hmm.
reflect on what's going on. You see. So I was visiting him, and that was going through my head. I couldn't even relax. So
Mm-hmm.
I got back to Houston, and that's what I did. I joined a yoga class, and I enjoyed it. Where I became a yoga instructor. So I was like, you know what, this is a good experience. Maybe I can help others feel just as good. So
Mm-hmm.
as I started to turn things around and really work on my anxieties and my stress, I noticed my abdomen started to get larger. You know, you're talking about 10 years from when I was diagnosed originally. So I kind of ignored the fibroids, but they didn't
Mm-hmm.
ignore me. And
Mm-hmm.
they kind of told me all that emotional baggage that I was leaving a residual in. Here you go. They gave me a good present when I went back for my ultrasound, and I found out that that quarter size fibroid is now uh, the largest was almost 9 centimeters, and I had 4 of them, with the
Wow.
largest being was 9. Yeah, it
Wow.
was terrible.
Yeah.
So
So, what did you do about the fibroids? Did you, because you're now a nurse at this point,
yeah,
so did you go the medical route first before you decided to do things naturally, or were you like, you know what, I'm just going to deal with this myself? How did you handle it?
and exactly what you said. I'm going to deal with it myself. When I was told about the ultrasound results to the doctor, I felt so uncomfortable, not heard, not listened to, and the doctor could not really sit down and talk with me about it. It was all about, let's schedule surgery, let's do this, let's do that. I even had the doctor ask me, "Am I upset that I have fibroids?" Because I asked him a question about it. And it's like, if you can't answer my questions and immediately get defensive, you know, I just stormed out of the doctor's office and I said those exact words, like, I'm just going to do this myself. So I nearly went into deep depression once, all of that processed. And being driven as I am, I'm like, you know what, wake up. I mean, you can't keep living like this, and it's just going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I started researching and reading and just looking up things, not particularly about fibroids, but about the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I started reading more about that. I started trying different natural recipes at home. I literally turned my home into a lab. I started doing different workouts
Mm-hmm.
and just finding ways to cope with these now large fibroids and this heavy cycles and this pain and looking pregnant. So
Mm-hmm.
once I kind of created a regimen, it infused everything that I've learned as a nurse, fitness and yoga coach. And the regimen entailed uh, mindful tips. It entailed plant-based eating. It entailed healing workouts. So during the bikini days, I was doing intense workouts all the time. And I felt like
Mm-hmm.
that created more stress to my body. So now workouts, it's more of an experience where you can kind of overcome the stress response that your body normally produces. Because when you're dealing with an imbalance um, that comes with PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, that's already stress
Mm-hmm.
to the body, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be a lot. So healing workouts, plant-based eating, and yoga / meditation techniques, all I put it into a blender and I created the blueprint regimen that I used for a year and a half. And the results that I got from doing that regimen enabled me to eliminate a fibroid. And when I say that, the ultrasound showed that there was a 4 centimeter fibroid that just degenerated. It could not thrive. And that was about a year and a half of remaining consistent with the regimen that I created. And also, my cycles went from, the longest 8 days to only now 4 days. And then boost of energy. I just feel like a whole new woman. And I really think that my determination, my mindset, along with this regimen that I created, all together really gave me the results that I have, where for me, surgery procedures were no and ever an option for me. They just weren't, because I just felt like they weren't going to fix my problem, knowing that they're just Band-Aids, because fibroids are not the issue. They're a symptom of some type of dis-ease going on in the body. And I feel like for me, my emotional status, along with the hormonal imbalance that I may have been produced through unhealthy diet years ago. It may have been produced through negative thinking, toxic environment. It could be a lot of those things that really played a role in the development of fibroids, at least for me. So being able to tackle all those angles really, I feel, gave me the results that I have today. And what I do for women is that same blueprint I give them through the Fibroid Fitness Challenge. So every month I have so many women, like I had 30 women join, and they follow this guidance in order to get the results. And I've had women lose 18 pounds in 30 days, go from pain to no pain, more energy. So it's just a sign of how the natural way can work if you empower your body, right? So that's kind of a good segue. I know you had some questions for me, so.
Of course I do. I just want to say, one, thank you for sharing your story. And number two, I like that you talked about how there's an emotional component to things. Being a health coach and a holistic health coach at that, one of the things that I like to tell people is that you can't focus on one area and not deal with the other. So we as people are holistic beings. We're not just physical. We are also spiritual and mental and emotional, and we have all of these different layers to ourselves. And if you don't deal with one, then that could be the very thing that's causing the issue that you're having. So I love that you brought the emotional component in there, because when we're dealing with these issues that happen within the womb, most people don't talk about the emotional side or the spiritual side or the trauma that you probably have already dealt with, that you're holding on to, that is now causing these problems. So I love that. Was that something that you learned while you were kind of studying, or was that something that you picked up, at a different time? How did you figure out that you needed to deal with all of these things, collectively, versus, okay, I'm just going to change the way that I'm working out and do some yoga now and everything's going to be fine, or I'm just going to eat plant-based and it's going to be fine? What made you do things more holistically?
That's a very good question, and I got to give it to you. That's one I've never been asked, and it required a lot of reflection. It required a lot of trial and error. And I say the most thing, Sierra, was learning more about myself, intuition, listening to my body, because some of the things I may have done may not work for someone else. But if you know your body, you kind of know which angle to go. You kind of know what's wrong. And that's what I felt when I was in my early 20s, not knowing anything about fibroids, but just feeling curious and say, you know what, doctor, can I do an ultrasound? And the doctor questioned me, like, why would you want an ultrasound? Well, my mom had fibroids. I want to make sure I don't have it. And
Mm-hmm.
so women out there, listen to your intuition, back it up with some self-awareness, and do your research, because I'll tell you, Sierra, the research that's out there about this condition is so outdated, and evidence-based practice does not consider the holistic aspect of it. They just go by evidence-based practice. So the emotional component is kind of left out, and that plays a huge role in fibroids, because I believe it's it's a genetic thing, but it's not directly affected by genetics. Even though my mom had it and I had it, I feel like it was passed down in a dormant expression. So meaning that
Mm-hmm.
it's not turned on, like, Christmas lights, you turn them on, they turn them off. So they were turned on, but somehow the way I acted in my environment that built a relationship with my internal system created some disconnection, where that gene was able to express itself and turn back on. And I feel that's how it plays a role genetically. But I get this a lot from doctors. Oh, it's in your genes, just accept it. And that's an insult. That is an insult, because they say 90 something percent of the chronic conditions, especially in melanated people, is caused by our environment, our lifestyle, not necessarily genetics. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as we can see, most of the time when we're talking about genetics, we know that if you were raised by someone and they fed you for 18 years of your life, then you're used to eating the same way and doing life the same way and dealing with those same stressors and those same emotions. And we know that trauma passes down from generation to generation. And here we now have the perfect storm for something to happen within the body. So I love that you were able to take the time to really take a look at yourself, which is something that we don't do very often. And the fact that you listen to your intuition, because that's a huge thing for melanated people, especially those of us who have wombs. And we know that that can transition into fertility issues and even issues with birthing and maternal mortality and all of those things. So please, please listen to your intuition. And if you feel like something is off, don't take no for an answer and keep going until you find the answer that you need. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the plant-based diet. I know that you have so many people that will tell you, oh, I did this plant-based diet and I was able to heal from this or from that. Now, when I have fibroids, because I actually have fibroid along with an ovarian cyst and a breast cyst all at the same time. And one of the things that I tell people was that I decided to go plant-based to heal that on my own. And I see that you did the same. Now, is this a lifestyle that you have continued, or was it kind of, I'm going to do plant-based and then I'll just continue to eat plants, but maybe introduce meat? What do you kind of do now?
Yeah, and congrats to you, Sierra, on that. Plant-based is my new way of living. I've learned spiritually and emotionally the connection with food. I mean, it's a struggle every day, but I follow the 80-20 rule. But a tip that I want to give ladies listening to this: if you're dealing with a hormonal condition, you want to keep dairy, soy, and meat at least temporarily. I mean, the goal is permanently out of your diet, so you can reset with this diet. But that's my new way of life. I don't see the purpose with meat or dairy or any of that other stuff. And I feel like genetically, we are made to eat certain types of food where it doesn't cause a dysfunction within our cells. And I feel like melanated people are most vulnerable to this because of our genetic makeup, where a lot of the foods that we're eating, we go out for Chinese and Italian, those type of foods are not in our genetic makeup. We are should be eating nature, foods within nature. And that's why we're the most that's running into these chronic conditions, and why we're so anemic, walking around here dead, because we have no circulation. And it starts from back in the days, but I'm not going to go all into that. But I would say the plant-based diet is what our bodies can really resonate with, where it can do what it needs to do, because we have very empowering bodies, very strong bodies, and it has the power to heal our, our ourselves from different things that can cause dis-ease from the food that we're eating. And so plant-based is what I eat 100% of the time.
That's wonderful. And I love that you said that if you're dealing with a hormonal issue, you want to get rid of those things. That is one of the things I try to tell people often, and they're like, well, what am I supposed to eat? Because, you know, the SAD or standard American diet is filled with burgers and fries and, you know, milkshakes and cookies and candy and ice cream and all of these things that taste good but are not necessarily good for our bodies. And then when we eat that way, we end up with insulin resistance issues and all sorts of hormonal problems, high blood pressure, diabetes, and all of these issues and underlying conditions that we now have to deal with on a daily basis that can lead to these other things. So I love that you said that we should take those things out of our diet, at least temporarily. And I would just add, if you're going to eat them, just don't eat them as often, and make sure that you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables if possible. Now, you said you incorporated healing workouts. I love that because, you know, most people tell you, you know, kind of like it was when you were training, that, oh, you need to exercise for 30 minutes to an hour a day, and it needs to be intense, and it has to be HIIT workouts and, you know, all of these things. And you do them. And for some people, that works well. But for people who are dealing with issues that are hormonal, it may not be the best thing. So what type of workouts would you say are more healing?
That's a good question. So these healing workouts will benefit women that are pregnant, dealing with a hormonal condition, have any injuries, that population. So healing workouts are something that I created as a way to burn hormonal fat. Hormonal fat is feeding whatever condition that we're suffering with. And you need a way of getting to that without causing too much stress to the body. So burning hormonal fat and also increasing flexibility inside and around the womb. So just like you want to be more flexible in your upper body, it has to go inside as well. If you focus on being able to allow your uterus to have space, where you can eliminate some of the constipation, some of the bloating that you may be experiencing due to fibroids or endometriosis, it's going to provide more circulation and allow your womb to get the nutrients it needs versus the fibroids or the abnormality that's going on. So these exercises focus on the hip mobility, hip, the pelvic floor stabilization, and then breathing. So they're all modalities. Like this morning, I did a weight training one where you're still doing lifting. It's more moderate weight, more reps, and I'm counting the breaths versus the reps. So making sure I breathe with every rep, which allows my body to relax and not produce a stress response as it normally would with a regular workout. So counting your breaths for 30 seconds, and then you go to the next exercise. There's also interval training where for it to be healing, the breaks are a little bit longer, especially with us dealing with anemia. We need to take our time to allow our bodies to produce, get the energy back to go another round. And then there's also I started doing some more booty workouts. I had my Fibroid Fitness Queen's request for some, toning and workouts to really sculpt the body. So those are the kind of the components that make up a healing workout. They're more focused on the hips, pelvic floor, and then a way to burn the hormonal fat using your breath.
Oh, wow. I love that. Breath work. So we're talking about breathing, using the mind body connection, and making everything work together holistically. That's amazing. That is really, really awesome. Do you do any of your workouts like live streamed, or can people find them anywhere? Where can they go to find your program?
So right now, and that's something I'm thinking of doing, is offering it via streaming. But right now, it's through the Fibroid Fitness Challenges. They can participate in challenge. They get the workouts, they get the grocery lists, the meal guide, and then the mindful tips all in that regimen as of right now. But that's something. Thank you for inspiring me again. That to start streaming my healing workouts.
Yes, please do. We especially need more melanated people doing these workouts so that we can see that, number one, there are people that look like us because representation matters. And number two, because you are someone who has already done the healing work and you have the results. So it's great for some yoga teacher to say, hey guys, we're going to do this yoga to focus on fibroids, but have you ever had fibroids and have you healed them? That's what I need to know. So I love that you have the actual results and that you're helping people to do that. Now, before we go, do you have any tips that you would offer someone who is right now just being diagnosed with having fibroids?
Yes, sis, I want to tell you, hang in there, stay informed. And there is a community of women just like yourself that are pushing through this. We're persevering and we want to have you as well. So definitely reach out to me at Fibroid Queen on Instagram, also Facebook for a community group to join for free. And one thing you want to know is that our standard go-tos is birth control, myomectomy, where they cut the fibroids off your uterus surgically, and then hysterectomy, where you totally get rid of your uterus. And those things have side effects. So you want to keep in mind the best option for you, and just know that a myomectomy is just a Band-Aid. They remove the fibroids, but it does not prevent new fibroids from forming. So you think about weeds. You water the weeds and then they grow back. You cut it, they grow back. That's like fibroids. So if you're watering in the same lifestyle, the same relationship with that boyfriend that's abusing you, you're in a toxic environment, best to believe those fibroids will grow back and you just run into surgery after surgery. Or hysterectomy, just taking the uterus out. Sometimes that's the easy way to go, but the uterus has a function and it's connected to the heart and the brain. So once that's removed, you are more at risk for breast cancer and heart disease and different things. So the hormonal imbalance that is the root cause will go somewhere else. So if the fibroids are not there, it'll find a way. So just know that I wish I knew this information. I've never had any procedures or surgeries, but I hear a lot of this from my clients that they're not told this. And I want to make you informed to choose the right decision for you. And the standard is the myomectomy if you want to conceive. But either way you go, you can't go wrong with getting healthy. And that's what my program does for you. It helps you reset your hormones. And it's also a prevention. I have a lot of women that have gotten the surgery and they come and do my program to prevent new fibroids from forming. Or I have women that have no idea what to do, but they just start with my Fibroid Fitness Challenge in order just to gain information and clear out their brain and get the right foods in their system and then decide what they want to do. So either way, you can't go wrong with the Fibroid Fitness Challenge. If you need some tips on what to do and what to eat, www.fibroidqueen.com. I have some tips on there. And the challenge started today. The Fibroid Fitness Challenge starts today. If you go to Instagram at Fibroid Queen, link in my bio, you can sign up and jumpstart your healing. today, as this is a way to not only address the symptoms of fibroids, but address you holistically so you can be the best woman you can be.
Awesome. Those were amazing tips. You covered so much that I feel like I could just have you here for another hour, but I won't do that. Thank you for giving us your contact information. And if you guys need help with these fibroids, please reach out to her, because, this is something that can be a problem, as she said, in the future. The research even shows that if you have a certain type of hysterectomy where they remove your ovaries, we're now talking about maybe issues with dementia, heart disease, and other things as well. Yeah, that was something that I looked up last year. It was really crazy to find out that, I can have a fibroid, have it removed, and then have issues in the future.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
please take care of it now if you can. If you can't find her, reach out to me and I will give you her information. So please just get some help. And I hope that you all are able to address all of the issues, mind, body, and soul. Thank you guys so much for watching today. And thank you for being with me today.
Thank you.
See you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.